1. We're going to be going live now. Yeah, I love doing that to Sydney. All right. Episode DAC 16. Once again, we have managed another week, and the folks are still paying the bills and paying Sydney to show up. So we're going to show up, and we haven't said anything too crazy, or else Sydney edits out.
I was going to say, more like we've been censored.
Yeah, because last week was a great one. This week would have been a good one. But Sydney's there to take care of us to make sure we don't do anything crazy and keep jobs in the real world. So I am Nathan Wickline. I'm your host, and I am joined with Sarah Messer.
Yep.
I said it for you this time.
Thank you.
I got ahead of myself.
I do appreciate it.
All right. We are coming to you from the Star Hill Dairy Market Lounge downtown. Thank you to those guys for hosting us and allowing us to destroy their room once a week to set up this podcast. If you can see what's going on behind you, there's a lot of stuff that Sydney does. And also to Station C. Like I said, those are the guys that are cutting the checks for this and allow us to do this so you guys can get to know some of the folks that maybe you don't see every week, but you'd like to kind of know what they're doing. And this week is a face that I don't think anyone has seen yet because you haven't made it to any of the meetings. But Lo
coming though.
Yeah, it's Lo Davis. Lo, I'm going to turn it over to you. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and who you're with.
Yeah, so Lo Davis, been around Charlottesville for a long time. Went to the University of Virginia, came here, played baseball back when baseball was irrelevant, much different now. And then worked for the Athletic Foundation for 12 years. And now I'm in this new venture in this new world of name, image, and likeness. So I run the collective Cavalier Futures. And also we have spun off a foundation called Cav Futures Foundation. So it's been really exciting to work with UVA student athletes and help them, create opportunities and branding opportunities for themselves and get them out in the community.
Awesome. So you played baseball here.
I did.
When?
1987 and 88. I was 5 when I started. So.
I love it.
Wow.
I heard a crazy story about baseball. So my father-in-law played baseball down at Tech.
Okay.
And he was here. He's a doc. He was here at UVA for years. But then he went down to Wake, and he was team doc for the Wake baseball team.
Okay.
And he was here, and it was just, they were getting ready to have a game against UVA, Wake against UVA. And this kid came into, one of the Wake guys went to the UVA guy and said, hey, I just heard your program was canceled. Were you there for that when they?
No, I was away, but that was a very scary moment.
Right.
And we had a very prominent citizen come in and help save the program, and the rest is history.
Alex Ray Brooks, right?
What? Yeah, that's the rumor. But Brian O'Connor has done an amazing job.
Yeah.
And so I got a little piece of history for you for any baseball history buffs. There's only 2 schools to ever win the College World Series. Virginia is one of them, and Wake Forest is the other.
Ooh. Only 2.
Only 2 with all of the great programs in the history of ACC. Yeah. There's only been 2.
And Wake was like
1953, I think.
I think that was it. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm a huge college baseball guy.
There you go.
Just because I'm down there with him and Wake's on a roll this year. Here's what I don't get. And I was talking about this morning, and I did not know that you play baseball here. Mm-hmm. How is it? Now we're going way off the rails. How is it that UVA this year, 41-11, has the second most wins to only the first place team, which has 42, which is Wake Forest, and 11 losses, the second fewest amount of losses, but it's ranked 21. I get there was some ACC stuff, but that seems like, it's not even close.
Yeah, so part of the problem, there's 15 polls to look at, right? And so the other thing is that you always want your in-state rivals to be good. So JMU, VCU, ODU, because if you're able to beat them and they have high RPIs, then that's going to help you and make those wins more meaningful. When you have Vanderbilt playing Louisville for a midweek game, that's obviously going to raise their RPI. So that's the case that we fall into.
Gotcha.
So that's why we got to root for the folks down the road to make it better for us.
Yeah.
Yes.
They got a big weekend series against Wake, so see what happens. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So what's going to happen? Now we're going to get back to the other stuff.
Yeah.
What's going to happen with you guys? Got a shot?
We've got a real good shot. As a matter of fact, I was with Coach O'Connor yesterday. Yeah. And in baseball, it's a long season, but it's all about playing well at the right time. And I think coming off of this exam break, you're going to see a lot of these kids kind of recalibrate, and you're going to see them going down the home stretch playing really, really good baseball.
Yeah. Nice. Looking forward to it. What'd you play? What position?
First base and left out. So, didn't get on the field a ton, but it was a great experience, and it was awesome.
So you went from playing baseball. Did you stay at the university when you graduated, or go somewhere else?
So I had a really, really cool job. So after I graduated, I stayed, and you'll appreciate this, a UVA degree, never worked before. So I ended up working for Sam Goody Records.
Nice.
Just so I could understand how to get up in the morning and actually
Yeah.
manage people. So I was like an assistant manager at a record store. And then shortly thereafter, my best friend was a guy by the name of Herman Moore, who played football here at UVA. He was a number 10 overall draft pick. And I was working here in Charlottesville, and he called me and said, I want you to move to Michigan. I said, for what? He said, we'll figure it out. And I didn't want to be anybody's bodyguard or hanger on, but we created some really, really cool opportunities both off the field. And then we came back to Charlottesville and we did some great community events. And that's kind of how I got started into the whole sports thing and giving back and the community aspect of it. And Herman had a phenomenal career, 10 years in the league, I think 4 times All-Pro. And, you know, he's so valuable. I get mad at him today because, you know, back then it was an eat what you kill scenario. And so I would bring him all these great opportunities so I could get paid. He was like, no, I want to pick up my kids from school. I'm like, really? And so now that he's retired, he's traveling all over the country making money for appearances, the things that I could have got paid for. But,
Right.
But we had a good run, and we're still really good friends to this day.
Yeah, I mean, that's when you talk about some of the names for UVA athletics or just sports. I mean,
Yes.
Herman Moore was Calvin Johnson before Calvin Johnson
Absolutely.
was Megatron. So
Absolutely.
that's awesome.
Yes.
So you were an athlete in the 80s.
Yes.
How would you say that now shout out to my friend Sean Bridge, who said,
I know Sean.
He
Yeah.
said, this is a great question.
Yes.
And I was like, he said, how has the experience and the expectations changed as an athlete since those days?
Yeah, the pressure to perform is tenfold.
Yeah.
Right. And so now it becomes you know, I get it, but it's also frustrating where our fans and even donors look at student athletes as for entertainment purposes only. And they don't realize that there's still 17 to 23-year-old individuals who are still trying to find their way through the world. Now you throw on the pressures of social media, the ability to perform, you're in front of packed stadiums, in front of millions on TV. That pressure that individuals put on themselves to get to a certain level, it's incredible. And not to mention going to a school like UVA, it's not easy.
Right.
Right? It's not easy. There's no pass-throughs here. So academically, what you have to do, you know, off the field is really, really important. So I do believe that there are certain student athletes that fit UVA, and there are ones that we miss out on for various reasons. But I think Carla Williams and her group and all of our coaches, we've got some of the best coaches in the country. Why wouldn't you want to come here to Virginia and compete?
Right.
Yeah.
That was one of Sean's other questions was, how awesome is it working with Carla Williams?
I tell you what, I admire her tremendously for many reasons. I think she's a phenomenal leader, but I also think she's a role model for young women who have fought many battles to get to where they need to be professionally and has never been deterred. And I'm sure there are stories that she has not shared with me or the public that would probably make somebody want to quit. But she has, I tell you, she has stood alone. She doesn't use her gender or her race as, you know, this bait, if you will. And she's just phenomenal. And so I'm very thankful to be associated with her.
Yeah.
You know, interesting with the NIL rules up until last October and November, we had to have an arm's length relationship because of the collective piece and the booster piece. But when those rules changed, it became a little bit more where we could work together. And the first thing I told her was, I miss you. So we've spent a lot of time together over the last few weeks trying to devise a plan to help UVA student athletes move forward.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Get somebody dragging a table back there. This is what happens when we do a little earlier.
Yeah.
So and we were talking about the experiences and stuff. I can't imagine, like you said, the pressure and the maturity and the discipline it's got to take for these guys now with the social media, because man, there is nothing you can do, and it can turn on a dime. I mean, you look at a guy like a John Morant, just one little second.
That's right.
One little second, and it's out there, and there's no putting that genie back in the bottle.
Absolutely.
I mean, how do you deal with this?
So for us, the one great thing is, you know, I always say I'm older, but I'm not old. But I did play here at UVA. And so trying to create a mentor role for our student athletes, and I'm going to give it to you in a real way, right? I don't want to be able to softball. And that's why Herman and I got along really well, because I told him what he needed to hear versus what he wanted to hear. And I use that same advice with student athletes. And so whether it comes to your social media, whether it comes to your stance on certain issues, I'm good. If you stand behind it and you believe in it, then put it out there. But just know that there are going to be certain people that don't believe in what you believe in, and you've got to accept those consequences.
Right.
So from a mentorship, education, all of that, we're doing our best to get the student athletes to trust us and trust us outside of the walls of where they have to go every day.
Yeah, I know. I'd last about 22 minutes, and that'd be it. If part of my experiences back in the day, I'd be done.
Yep.
I'd be so done.
Oh, well,
We're
I won't
lucky.
tell you
Yeah,
about that.
I was gonna say, we're lucky cameras weren't invented yet.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's all out there.
But there's footage somewhere from like a Piggly Wiggly grocery store of some of us out there, right?
I'm gonna just say this: there is a VHS videotape out there. I know it exists.
Yes.
I don't know where it is right now, but we need to find that thing. And just get it going.
I'm so old, it might be reel to reel. You know?
Yeah. I remember the big VC on camera carrying around just doing dumb stuff.
Exactly.
All right, so we have entered into this new thing, that everybody's been kind of calling for years, and it's just, and now it's here. And like I said, it feels like just like the other thing. The genie's out of the bottle. We're probably not. I mean, as much as some of these guys want to go back, you can't. It's too late.
Yeah.
So tell us about this new world and how it's affecting the changes and how you guys are involved in that.
Well, so student athletes are very, very smart people, first of all. And so this didn't just happen a year ago, July, right? This has been discussed and talked about for many years. And when you look at how much money these institutions are making from TV contracts, how much coaches are making, student athletes are saying, what about me?
Right.
And there are people who really have questioned whether or not you should pay student athletes. And I've always been of the mindset is this: I'm going to have two careers, right? I'm working to get my education, but I'm also putting in a lot of work to take care of my body and perform at a high level on and off the field. But I use the example. I love my UVA degree. I hug it all the time. But when I was working towards that UVA degree, it never helped me buy a meal. It never helped me take my girlfriend to the movies, never helped me get back home to see my parents. And so when people are really struggling to say, well, student athletes shouldn't be paid, well, let's talk to these student athletes and let's understand the struggles that they go through financially. And I always believe, too, if you have financial struggles, it also affects you mentally as well. And so being able to have student athletes take advantage of the opportunity of this new world of capitalizing on their name, image, and likeness, I'm all for it. Not everybody's into it. There's only about 1%, no matter what you read, there's only about 1% that make meaningful income.
Right.
And when I say meaningful, $10,000 or more. And so if you think about $10,000 over a year, it's not that much money. And so to give them the ability to go out and have, buy meals or to take their girlfriends or boyfriends out, I think it's a great opportunity. And we're excited about being able to help student athletes navigate it. We're excited that we can do it in a way that's compliant to the university so that there are no red flags that are being raised. And all of a sudden down the road, we come back and have some issues. So.
Yeah, man. I mean, I was not a student athlete at UVA, but I did have a job, which I can imagine that student athletes don't have the time or the energy to do that sort of thing.
No, they don't. But one of the things that we are doing that's different than most of the collectives that are out there is we look at lifetime branding versus that short-term piece. And I always say it's cool if you can make $200 for a tweet, but if we can get you in the room with the right people, I'd rather have you make a six-figure opportunity coming out of school, right? So we look at lifetime branding, and it's building that and using that powerful UVA network that's going to help not only the top 1%, but the other 99% as well. So whether you're the starting point guard on the basketball team, or if you're the third string field hockey player, through Cav Futures, we want you to be in the room with the right people.
So that's what you guys do. You facilitate those.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all part of, and even through our foundation, we're talking personal growth and development, financial literacy, career development. We just co-sponsored a program for the football team last December. And obviously we had a really, really tragic event that happened here. But a month later, we were able to get 40 businesses from all over the country to come and meet with our football program. We helped them put together resume books, and 4 or 5 student athletes got jobs as a result of coming out of that career fair. So we're doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does something like the Miami booster just tilt this whole thing on its head and just make it crazy?
All right, I'm gonna choose my words carefully.
Don't, man.
No, you know, it's one of those things where I think John Ruiz is the guy's name, and Life Wallet is his company, and he's an individual that wants credit for the things that he's doing.
Yeah.
And as I've always said, if you can just shut up and make good things happen, you won't have that bullseye on your back. And my concern from instances like that, if things do go wrong for whatever reason for Miami, then that's going to impact how people perceive of Virginia and how we're doing things. And so, you know, they feel like they want to buy recruits and recruiting classes. We feel like we're not in it for that. We want to be sustainable so that no matter what NIL looks like a year or 2 from now, and like you say, it's not going away, we're going to be here.
Right.
And so it's kind of, let's be deliberate, let's be intentional, and let's last everyone out.
Right.
That's the way we see it.
So one of the things that is confusing to me, and I haven't quite understood, and this goes back, I guess, to last year, and this was talking about the A&M recruiting class. And they said, they had the university had a $28 million budget for their class.
Yeah.
So is that money from boosters? Is that, I mean, when they say they have a budget, I don't grasp all this. So
the follow-up question is how many games did they win?
Exactly.
Right. So it's the SEC is a whole different animal. I think the culture is different. They want to win. And so it becomes an arms race for them.
Right.
Whether it's the ACC or the Stanfords and the Notre Dames of the world, I think they take a different approach to it, right? It's an incremental piece of the entire experience and need for a successful college athletic program. But the SEC is a monster. And, I think Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban got into it, and Nick had his feelings hurt. And what that told me was Nick was like, boys, y'all better raise some more money, right? We're behind, right? And so I don't think we'll ever be in that situation. That's not who we are. But I've said all along, and this is no disrespect to any Ivy League school, if Virginia doesn't participate in NIL and have a robust program specifically for football, then we're going to be left recruiting Ivy League type kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's going to happen. Like,
well,
the SEC is that's just a whole other animal. I was blown away this week with the news that Stetson Bennett, the quarterback for Georgia,
he's 40, right?
Yeah, 43. He's been there since he started. He was a freshman when you were a senior, fourth year. 6 years, no degree.
No degree.
Yeah. I mean, poor guy. What's he going to do with his life? Anyway, but yeah, that's the SEC. So, and when you say, the UVAs and to some degree like the Dukes, the ACC, is a different animal. Do you think that this is going to, because there's been some realignment rumor and stuff this week, is this kind of a slight warning sign to the ACC? Hey man, we got to figure something out, or else like the Miamis and the Florida States, these guys are SEC light anyway, could be doing something.
So I think, and this is just my own personal opinion, when this ACC deal was done a few years back, it was a race to get a deal done.
Right.
And I know we did not get the best deal. And I think if you look at Commissioner Phillips now, if he would have been in that role several years ago, I think coming from a Big Ten conference school, he would have gotten a much better, much more robust deal.
Right.
But I think conference realignment is real. I think Virginia is part of that conversation. I think Virginia football plays a key role in that conversation. And so, again, that's why Carla has been all in, rolling the dice on we have to invest in football to make Tony Bennett better, Lars Tiffany better, Brian O'Connor better, because football does pay the bills.
Right.
And so that is an emphasis. She's done a phenomenal job of navigating both President Ryan and the Board of Visitors to come on board and say, we can do this without compromising all things that we believe in at Virginia. And so, yeah, it's if I had to say, there's more than a 75% chance that we're going to be hearing something more sooner than later.
Right. Just it's inevitable.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to do it. It's football is just this monster, and UVA for years has been so great at everything else.
That's right.
And when you look at the programs and the depth of the successes, and it's just unreal. And then you just kind of hit this speed bump, and you're like, at least catch lightning in a bottle once, right? And I guess in 1990 we did, but for a second. I was actually at a printing place, get stuff made for my other job, and they had the front page of Daily Progress from October of 1990. UVA had reached number one in the polls.
Yes,
I was like, that one aged a little rough.
Well, at UVA football, if you go back even beyond those teams, that was kind of the start.
Yeah.
And then Al Groh had a good run. George Welsh had a great run even after that. But then we became consistently inconsistent.
Right.
And when you're winning 5-6 games, it just doesn't feel good. When you know that this program can have, excellent opportunities. And I've always been the mindset that if we can have the greatest business school and the greatest law school and everything else, why not have the greatest athletic department? I mean, we have 31 championships
right,
with a little budget and the greatest coaches in the country. So imagine if football was great and we get this whole pocket of revenue to come in.
Yeah.
What if, right?
Yeah, when you said that, I thought about but the coaching's here. I mean, if those guys put up a help wanted, like I want, they'd be beating down the the street to get to their house. I mean, these are the best of the best.
You got it.
It is crazy that it just and I hope we get it going. This is a person that at the ACC tournament this year, she was like, "What is the ACC and what is this tournament?"
And now I know. I've been educated.
The sports.
We got to get you some more tickets. How about that?
Yeah. Hey, I know baseball.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's the right sport.
Her husband was a pitcher for
Emory.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Big dude.
Yeah.
What was I gonna? There was a question I had about.
I've got one.
Go.
Okay. You love student athletes.
I do.
Do you get on a daily basis to interact with them?
I do, almost daily, in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And we're finding now, since our most recent announcement of becoming an official sponsor of Virginia Athletics, the coaches are encouraging student athletes to reach out to Cav Futures. And we just did this really cool activation with this company called Market Price. Mm-hmm. And Market Price is a platform that brings brands together with student athletes. And so they came in from all over the country. We had 52 student athletes participate in this activation, and it was awesome. So we covered 6 sports, and we want to be gender and sport equitable. And spending those 3 days with those student athletes and seeing the smiles, and they had to create these TikToks, and it was just a lot of fun. And so they invigorate me. And it's not just because of, again, what they do, mm-hmm. but who they are and how smart they are. Yeah. So it's cool.
What were some of the lesser known sports that got to take part in this?
Yeah. So we had, I'll tell you all of them. It's easy. So we had women's basketball. We had softball. We had baseball. We had football. We had women's swim and dive. And we had tennis, maybe. But it was a good mix because we were able to bring all of the student athletes together, and we did like 3 different pods, but some of them knew each other and some of them didn't. And so then they had to go to work and for 45 minutes come up with this creative for a product, and they pitched a product. And as a result of that, the winner got an NIL deal.
Oh, nice.
And so these student athletes had no idea what they were walking into. And so when they got there, it was pretty cool. Our softball girls, they only had 3 of them in their group. And they ended up putting together this phenomenal TikTok. Well, they didn't know what the prize was. And all of a sudden it's like $2,000. And you could see like the excitement. And I was like, what are you going to do with that? And one of the young ladies said, I'm going to pay my credit card off. Aww. So how about that?
You're right.
Yeah.
You know, when you think about NIL and student athletes getting paid, you always think about, I've had a donor, oh, they're going to go get tattoos and they're going to buy cars and they're going to get shots for their friends. I'm like, no, not everybody's like that.
Yeah.
I would have been. That was me.
Yeah, what kind of tattoo would you have?
No, I don't know. I dodged them.
Yeah.
What's the craziest thing you've ever been pitched and you're like, nah, I don't know we'll do that? Or has there been anything like that yet? Because I'm sure there's one coming.
Well, Sydney might censor it.
No, so there are parameters given to the student athletes by the university. So no smoking and tobacco products, no gambling, and no pornography. So we haven't any of those come forward yet. But
alcohol?
Alcohol is another one. Good.
Okay.
Yes, no alcohol. But we have had student athletes bring us contracts outside of what we do. And there's been some wild stuff in there. Like one student athlete had a deal where they wanted to keep his name, image, and likeness in perpetuity. And so I'm like, okay, if you become a first-round draft pick,
Right.
Yeah.
and you're a Super Bowl MVP, they're going to sign you to this deal as a freshman. And now, and then it was like, well, if you die, we still get to keep it. Never mind your estate.
Selling your soul.
Right. So the young man was like, what do I care? I'm going to die. I said, what about your future wife or your mom or dad? And so it's things like that unfortunately there are people out here in the marketplace that are predators.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you think about just like taking out student loans at age 18. Right. It's not real.
That's right.
So much less navigating a contract
Yes.
with terms of your death.
It was a good day.
Might be a little intimidating.
That's right.
Yeah, right?
Well, financial literacy is a big part of what we are building here. And as student athletes earn money in the short term and then prepare for themselves long term, we want to do as much to get financial literacy in front of them as possible. I mean, I wish somebody would have talked to me when I got out of school.
Me too.
Because that first credit card, your senior year, oh my gosh. We had a place called Curly's Garage.
Yeah.
My dad thought I was like going to get my car fixed every time. And it was me hanging out in the weekend, you know?
That was one of my first jobs.
Yeah.
As a bar back in Busser at Curly's Garage.
There you go.
Love that place. Whole car hanging up in the ceiling.
You got it.
That was it.
Yeah. The good old days.
So, Lo Davis, legend of UVA baseball. No.
Yeah.
But
I've heard,
I'll slip you 20 for that.
I've heard rumor here that they're the next generation. Your son, high-end baseball player. What's the future there? What are we talking?
Well, as a proud dad, he can be as good as he wants to be. I'm not that dad that's going to push him. Our philosophy in our household is this: no matter what you do, if you start it, you finish it.
Right.
But you don't leave anything on the table. And if you give max effort and you love it, so be it. And so at 15, he has aspirations of playing college baseball. He's still learning he's got a lot of really good physical talent, but he's learning what it means to work.
Right.
And you get better when nobody's watching.
Yep.
And I'll never forget, he was 8 years old, and he went through this stretch where he was striking out like left. He couldn't even see the ball. And he'd get in the car and start crying. And finally, I'm like, dude, and this is no disrespect to anybody that plays the piano, but I'm like, if you do this one more time, we're pulling you and you're playing the piano. And that got his attention, right? And so he loves the game. He's got a lot of opportunities in front of him. He made a national team last year, so we went out in Arizona.
Nice.
And that was really, really cool. And they've got these rankings, and I always say you tend to pay for them, but they've got him as the number 10 ranked player in the class of 2026 here in Virginia. And so it's now being Dr. Phil and Dad and saying, those don't mean anything when you get on the field.
Don't believe the hype.
That's it. So you're never as bad as you think you are, and you're never as good as you think you are. Mm-hmm. But he's really, he loves the game, and he does want to get better. But at this age now, 15 to 16, it's a little awkward. He doesn't know what cereal to eat in the morning, but but he has a good opportunity. So thank you for asking.
Nice.
I mean, I'll tell you, as a former high school baseball manager, there is not a more tense place to be than on the bus of a losing team.
Yes.
Is he a big kid?
He's 6 feet tall.
Okay.
Amazing.
And hopefully he's got another couple inches. He's left-handed, which helps as well. Pitcher, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Gotta hook him up with Mike.
Yes.
Yes.
Pitcher.
I told him if he could get a law degree and throw 95, man, Dad is good.
You said you're good.
I'm good.
That's I was blown away. Sydney's giving us a sign. Just a second. I was blown away. We went to the preseason dinner for Wake.
Yes.
These kids are monsters.
Yes.
Now. I remember
Yes.
baseball. You know, good size, but I mean, these kids are like 6'5", 6'6". They got a 6'8" kid that, throwing like 98.
Mm-hmm.
So Virginia has Jake Berry. He's 6'10".
I think he came into Staples the other day when I was getting him a haircut.
Yeah, can you imagine all of that falling off at the mound to you?
No.
I mean, it's crazy.
No. I was done after 10th grade because every curve I thought was going to hit me right in the head.
Well, I'm a Yankees fan, and
There we go.
I watch Aaron Judge, and I'm like, he looks gargantuan.
Yeah.
Right? Like that bat in his hand looks like a little toothpick.
He's a monster.
But he's legit.
Oh, yeah.
He's legit. He got another one last night, so 3 in 2 games. So he's my guy.
That's right.
Yes.
A little sticky thing, but we're going to let that.
That's it.
All right. Well, cool. Well, that's our time. This is episode 16. I think that's 16. We will be back next week, I guess. We didn't say anything bad today. There was no, I'm not going to do it. Just
We
kidding.
did great.
Yeah, we didn't cross any boundaries or cross any lines. So see you next week.
Thank
Lo
you,
Davis.
Lo.
Where can
Thanks for having
people
me.
find Cav Futures? They want to check it out.
CavFutures.com or CavsCare.org is our nonprofit.
All right.
Thank you.
Give them some cash. Check them out, and we'll see you next week.
Awesome.